Well, hello there. We today are going to be working on creating some contrast in our artwork. We're going to be creating a fish artwork, and we're going to be focusing on creating contrast in the fish. We're either going to use complementary colors or warm and cool colors. First things first, though, we are going to need some fish. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can do this. I'm going to show you both ways. You can either make a stencil of a fish and then cut it out and repeat that. Then you have to just trace it. Or you can just free draw your own fish. Totally up to you. I think learning how to create a stencil is a very good skill, though, for you artists to have. I have here a piece of heavier paper. You could go digging through the recyclables, grab a cereal box, grab a granola bar box, grab the box that your markers comes in, and use that as a heavier material, or just whatever you have. I usually find stencils to be helpful if they are made of a thicker paper. They hold up well and they make it easier to trace. It's hard to trace a skinny little thin paper stencil. So what you're going to need to do is figure out how big do you want your fish to be. And we are going to be, doing more than one. So this paper, if I were to make my fish the same size as this paper, I would only get 2 really big fish. And I actually kind of want like 3 or 4. So I know that I need to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to go ahead and help myself out. I'm going to cut my stencil paper the size that I want it to be. So if I do 1, 2, all right, that'll give me 3 fish, as long as I make my fish the size of this paper. And it's funny, but I know it happens. I'll give kiddos a size of paper like this, and they'll make a tiny little fish on it. And it's like, Try to make your fish big. And remember, this is the stencil, so if you make a mistake on your stencil, it's not going to really be that big of a deal. So basic fish shape. Basic fish shape is like, what, an oval? Got an oval body, got some sort of a triangular tail, right, like that. Can you see that okay with my dark paper? Maybe I should use a crayon. All I did was I made like a nice big oval, and I know that fish have tails. Unless you're doing an eel, then it's a long skinny tail. But that's the basic shape, all right? Maybe your fish, it doesn't have a flat bottom. Maybe it has like a fun tail to it. I don't know. Totally up to you. Fish do come in different shapes and sizes, though. And sometimes they do have like a fin on the top, like that. Maybe they've got a fin on the bottom, like that. All right. I'm going to go with it. And I'm going to go ahead and cut out my stencil. I'm going to take my time, cut on or near the line. And remember, you can always use your scissors to change the shape of your fish stencil once you're done cutting it. So if you're not quite happy with it after you're done cutting it out, don't worry. The time to make changes is still upon us. You could still do that because you have scissors. And man, you can make a lot of quick changes with scissors, can't you? All right, so that's my fishy. I can also flip it over this way to get a really good idea. Holy cow, look at that bottom fin. It's a bit thick, isn't it? I'm going to take my scissors and I'm going to make it a little bit skinnier. Yeah, how's that? There, see? Look at that. Power of scissors. Already making changes. Cool. I'm going to roll with it. I have a stencil. Like I said, you don't need to make a stencil, but I think it's a really good thing for you boys and girls to know how to make your own stencils. So there's 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish. Yeah, I can definitely get 3 on here. So what I'll do is I'll start in the middle, and I'm going to hold my fish stencil in one hand, and then I'm going to just trace around it with the other. Boom diggity. here we go. Of course, it gets a little bit hairy canary near the little tippity tip of the fins, right? Because the fins, I'm not pressing down, so they're lifting up from the paper. So you might have to like sneak a little finger in there and go boop, push it down. There's one fish. And now I'm actually going to add a little variety. I'm going to make this fish go this way, this way. This guy's going this way. And all I had to do was flip my stencil. Boom. And now I'm going to pop this guy right here. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to trace it. Oh, my hair. It's everywhere. Have you ever found that as your hair gets longer, you find it everywhere? So Miss Manning had short hair. I like to go back and forth between short and long hair. And when I had short hair, oh man, it was awesome. Because I didn't see that hair anywhere. Now that my hair is longer, I find it everywhere. It's on my clothes, it's on the floor. Oh man, craziness. Yeah, but that's hair for you. Okay, so I'm going to finish tracing this guy. Boom. So I've got one fish going this way, this way, this way. Boom. Now, if you wanted to, you could have just drawn your own fish. All right, so this is how Miss Manning does her quick doodle draws. I do a light pencil, and I'm going to do 1 fish, 2 fish, 3 fish, and a 4 fish. See that? I know, you can't really see it too well, because guess what? I drew it lightly. That's what we do when we sketch as artists, right? Those are my basic fish bodies. And then I can just add like a tail. There's a tail there. There's a tail there. There's a tail there. And there's a tail there. And then you can go back and you can refine your fish, right? You can add a fin there if you want. And then just erase what you don't want. Or just leave it, you know. It's no big deal. You're the artist. Let it go. All right. Cool. So yeah, that's another way that you can do this. If you don't want to do a stencil and you just want to draw, this is a great way for you to figure out, okay, where are the fish going to go? Make sure that they're about the same size. Are they going all in one direction or are they going to alternate? Let me go back to my stenciled fish. Now, what we're going to do next is we are going to think about how we're going to be finishing it. So this is the main idea. The subject of our artwork is our fish. But we are also focusing on creating some contrast here. So we want our fish to stand out from the background, which means we can begin to use color in a thoughtful, meaningful way. So we can either use complementary colors. We can color our fish one color and then color the background the complement. Let me explain and show what that looks like. Here's an example of complementary colors in action. Do you see how this yellow cat pops right off of the purple background? That's because yellow and purple are complements. They are opposite each other on the color wheel. Opposite each other means they're complements. And because they're opposite, they create a lot of contrast. You can see the colors against each other. So purple and yellow are complements. Another pair of complements, red and green. And another pair of complements, blue and orange. So you could choose to use your complementary colors to make your fish stand out. Let's talk about that. You could go traditional, blue background, orange fish. Actually, I really like that idea. I might do that with my example here. So you could do a blue background and orange fish. Or you could do a green background and red fish. Uh-huh. Or yellow background. And what color fish? Purple. Totally up to you. Now, that is what we're going to do for color. But that doesn't stop us from adding a little bit more contrast. So, these little fishies, they look okay, right? Let's go ahead and add some pizzazz. We're going to help to make our fish stand out to create even more contrast. We're not just going to use our complementary colors, but we're also going to be using some line designs to make them stand out. So one way we can create contrast is by adding a black outline. So I'm going to take my crayon and I'm just going to go around the outside edge of my fish. So we can call this contrast, and we can also call it emphasis. When you emphasize something, you make people pay attention to it. And artists, well, that is one of our superpowers. We can make people look at and pay attention to what we want them to, because we are in charge of what is emphasized in our artwork. So if I really want people to pay attention to these fish, I'm going to add some contrast and emphasis. I'm going to make sure that people don't miss these fish. One way that we can add emphasis and contrast is by adding a nice sharp black outline. Another way is by adding some bold patterns. So I'm going to add some fishy eyes, and then I'm going to add some bold patterns to my fish. Some line designs. Give them some racing stripes. Oh, and this guy, maybe let's do something wavy and wiggly. There we go. I do like to add a little gill to all of them, though. And let's do a little fin detail. And some more fin detail. Oh, I like that. See, a little bit of line design, a little bit of emphasis, a little bit of contrast. And I can actually even go a little further. You know, those simple patterns can be boring. Add some pizzazz. Take it up a notch. Just add an extra element. We know about lines. We know about shapes. Think about the lines we could add here. We could add some simple short vertical lines. That just kicked it up a notch, right? You could add a shape. Let's add some circles in here. Okay. We could add, ooh, gosh. Let me see. Well, we could even just, you know, add some more lines right on top. Makes it a little more interesting. Yeah, you could continue. You do not have to copy my examples. You just go for it. Okay, so that is one way. We've created some emphasis, some contrast. Well, right now there's a lot of contrast because it's just white and black. Let's bump it up a notch with some color. So complementary colors. We're going to look for opposites on the color wheel here. So I was like, hey, blue and orange, that sounds like a great idea. It's so classic, and I like that. But here's what we can do to spice things up a little bit. If you don't want to go like straight up blue and orange, you could, because I have a variety of colors here. Man, I don't have to stick with just one orange. I could do a variety of oranges if I have them. Let's see, we've got an orange. This is like a reddish orange, and that's definitely more on the verge of red, isn't it? Yeah, let's try to stay, let's stay orangey red. Okay, and then, or actually, we could even go into the peach world, couldn't we? Peach is a type of orange, right? And then for the blues, well, yeah, we could do a variety of blues. Blue greens, blue violets, blue blue. It's all good. Just do a variety. Light blues, dark blues. And if you're at home, what could be really cool and fun to do is do a variety of different materials. Like grab yourself an orange highlighter, an orange crayon, and an orange paint. You know, you could do oranges of all different types. It's all good. It's mixed media. That's what that would be. So I'm going to grab my oranges, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start coloring my fish, and then I'll do my background, and I'll show you what that looks like. All right, we are back, and we've got some colored fish. Now, like I said, these are not perfectly orangey orange. Obviously, this guy, whew, he turned out to be way more red than I thought he was going to be. So what you can do, hey, if you want to bring it back, bring it a little more orange, take an orange and color right over it. That's another great way to get some variety in your colors. If you have a material where you can overlap your colors, you can always do that to add some variety. I think it's super, super interesting to experiment with overlapping your colors to see what you get. So this is just one way we can kind of reinforce the orange idea here and have people be like, wait a second, that's red, that's not orange, those aren't complementary colors in action. And you'd be like, oh, no. See, there you go, it's orangey. You'll also notice that because I'm using crayons, the black, one thing, when you get lazy like me and you just color over the whole thing, the black does get streaky, okay? So know that's going to happen if you use crayons, and you either love it and embrace it, or you do careful coloring so that it doesn't streak and smear like that. But hey, check out that beautiful color blending. You know what? I think I should blend all of these colors. I'll do that later. Anywho, I wanted to show you the blue background because I am working with my complementary colors to create some contrast. I'm using blue and orange. Blue for my background, orange for the fish. So I have a whole bunch of blue that I found in my crayon box. And all of them, well, not all of them, but most of them are already, you know, without wrappers, which makes it super easy to color quickly using the side of the crayon. So throw it down on the paper, grab your pincher fingers, and go to town. Now, just like we blended the fishy colors, we could totally do the same with our watercolors. So I've got my blue. This is a light blue. I can also take, I think this is blue. Yep. I could take this blue and kind of add some in. Now I am going to have to go careful around the fish. You can't go wild and crazy because you'll color into it. And like we already see, you know, crayon colors can overlap. And I don't want that to happen with my blue and orange. So I'll just carefully color around, turning my paper to make it easier to get to. I'm going to add a little bit more with this blue. Then I'm going to grab this blue. Is that the same blue? It might be. Let's try this one. I think this one's different. Oh yeah, this one's different. You know, a good way to check if your crayons to see what color they are. Yeah, all you gotta do is flip over your paper and then, you know, do a little test. Be like, oh yes, those are different. Silly me, I should have done that from the get-go. So I want some variety in my blues. So I'm not gonna color the whole paper, this one type of blue, right? I'm gonna just kind of Spread the love of this blue all over the paper. Maybe put some down here. Maybe put some underneath here. You know, just make it kind of spread it out nice and evenly. If you stop and you look, be like, all right, where is their dark blue? Where is there not? Maybe I could put some over here, right? You know? Where else needs a little bit more color? Right here, maybe. I'll put that in there. Careful color, careful color. And we've got some great fish art. We've got contrast. We've got complementary colors. And look at that. We've got a throwback to some of our line patterns and shapes that we know. All right, boys and girls, enjoy your fishy art and your practice using your complementary colors to create some contrast. And I'll see you later.